did some planting this weekend, Paul Thurrott.
Face planting?
No. Arborvitaes.
Okay. Yeah, it is. Spring has sprung.
Yeah, it's done a something. So, did a lot of digging, did a lot of planting, made sure
Yeah.
you get right amount of sunshine, optimal. Well, I got to do some work on my soil drainage, as I've learned, because there were some issues with soil drainage.
We noticed it won't be as funny in the telling as it was in the seeing, but on our walk this morning, we went by a house that had like a downspout come off the back of the house and then run along the entire length of the house on the ground so that it would kind of spew out onto the sidewalk. So this thing was at a slight incline and it ran 40 feet of like a horizontal downspout. It's like, is this really the best way to do this? But, yeah.
Well, Paul, you know what the only thing better than planting arborvitaes is?
Can't wait to find out.
The message from today's sponsor. Is your Active Directory vulnerable to cyber attacks? Active Directory is the #1 attack vector involved in 9 out of 10 attacks. Because of legacy Active Directory misconfigurations, it is a prime target for cyber criminals. To find and fix AD security vulnerabilities, you need Purple Knight, a free community Active Directory vulnerability assessment tool that is used by thousands of organizations to scan for indicators of exposure and compromise. Purple Knight provides a vulnerability assessment report and prioritizes recommendation guidance so you can quickly find and fix legacy misconfigurations that leave your core identity system open to attackers. You can also use Purple Knight to scan for vulnerabilities in Azure Active Directory, which is notoriously tricky to secure. Stop worrying about security gaps and download Purple Knight today to find out where the problem is and how to fix it. You can find links to Purple Knight in the description of this podcast. Purple Knight, my friends, links all over the place. But you know what we didn't miss it because you wrote about it, but we didn't bring it up on Friday. And considering it's a Monday, early Monday, not much has happened. I think it's worth repointing. That's what you do on a chimney. Talking about how Apple is effectively doomed because
yes, the beleaguered company from Cupertino,
the company that brought in $94.84 billion in revenue in a single quarter, with $24.16 billion in net income. They are so doomed.
You know, there is a company in Silicon Valley that is beleaguered and doomed, but it's called Intel. Yeah, Apple's doing okay. You know, I guess, look, this is a downtime in smartphones and in PCs. And those are two of Apple's core businesses, right? I mean, actually, I think Apple, over 50% of the revenue still come directly from the iPhone. I think when you figure in services, it's probably still in the 65-70% range, whatever that is. But you know, given those conditions, given the world as it is today, honestly, like they're doing awesome, right?
Yeah, the thing that jumped out, I mean, Mac sales were down, but they were roughly down equivalent rates of the rest of the industry. I mean, right? We knew that they were going to be down. That was least surprising. The thing that continues to impress me about what Apple has done is their services business continues to, I mean, you could go back just a handful of years and Apple had basically no services business. And now it is, they did $20.9 billion last quarter.
Yeah. It might be interesting to compare that to some of Microsoft's businesses.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be. I know that, or I would be, but I mean, I know that, you know, like the more personal computing, I'm just going to look it up. I mean, this is going to be upsetting is what it's going to be. Well, if I could find it, it's going to be hard to find it, but, the more personal computing business, has got to be in the 10 billion, sub 10 billion range, somewhere around there. So, I mean, just services, Apple is bigger than the part of Microsoft that includes Windows, Xbox, and Surface. It's like, like actually I found it. So, yeah, so Microsoft has 3 primary business units, right? As we know. Intelligent Cloud, biggest business at Microsoft, $22.1 billion in revenues, right? Same as just about the same. business productivity and business processes, which is Office, right? 17.5 billion in revenues. More personal computing. I was off there on that one, actually. I'm sorry. Windows, Xbox, and Surface, 13.3 billion in revenues. So services, Apple Arcade, like who would have thought? But yeah, that's resilience. I mean, I was talking to someone at the gym the other day. He was asking me about tech companies and blah, 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 and all the downturn and everything. And I said, there's all these different ways you can look at this industry. But I said, one of the big ones is you want businesses to be diversified. They need to withstand a hit. And Apple was very vulnerable because they were a one-hit product, right? A one-hit company. And they're working to fix that. And that's what you see in the services part. And they're diversified. I know they have other hardware types, but I mean, let's face it, if there was no iPhone, the interest in those other hardware products and services would be, negligible. Microsoft's done a terrific job of diversifying their business, obviously. But the company that hasn't is Google, right?
Took my line, Tharad. I said Apple has done what Google is trying to do.
Yeah. Google, the tiniest pinprick of light at the end of the tunnel. I think this past quarter, I think it was Google Cloud finally turned a profit. But that's like, Microsoft announced that Surface one quarter had a profit. Like this, it doesn't guarantee future success, I guess. And it's also a tiny part of their revenues, right? I mean, I don't know what I'm not going to look that one up, but it's going to be in the 5 to 10% range. It's small. But yeah, Apple, God, too big to fail is kind of a tough thing to say, but they're almost too big not to succeed. They really do. They're going to weather this nicely. And by the way, notably too, I don't think anyone really wrote this up in the wake of the earnings anyway. No major layoffs.
Yeah, and I think Tim was even asked about this, and he's like, why?
Yeah, yep. Well, listen, I have lots of problems with Apple. And I have lots of problems with their products, and we can go on and on and on about that. But I would like to highlight something where I raised my great frustration with Microsoft, but also with Amazon and Google and these other companies, Meta/Facebook, that they behaved in what I believe to be in irresponsible fashion. And I mean that broadly. I mean ethically irresponsible, fiduciarily, irresponsible way, by overhiring during the pandemic in a moment in time in which you had to have known this was temporary, and then firing them all when things went south, as they would, and not just doing the right thing to weather both of those bumps. And here we have this company, Apple, which again, I in many ways do not respect, but you have to respect this. Like they're doing something right with regards to the management of the company. And
well, it's a little easy to do. Let's not overshadow the fact that when you have $24 billion in net income, it's not like they're struggling to pay bills, but I agree with you.
No, I mean, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, who everyone holds up as a great guy, it's a great guy, flew on his private jet to Davos the day before they announced layoffs. I don't remember the numbers. I don't follow these other companies as closely, but Google employees are outraged over Sundar Pichai's, $226 million payday, or whatever it was, at 406, whatever the number was, I don't know, because he's reaping in this money as he's laying off all these people at the company that maybe they overhired to begin with, and it's outrageous, and I don't remember the details of this, but isn't there something Tim Cook? I don't know if he volunteered this or whatever, but his pay was cut, right? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, and because you have to be as honest as possible about any of this stuff, is, like I said, I have to disqualify it every time. There's a lot of things I really don't like about this company. Then again, I look at this and I say, this is responsible and it's right meaning it's correct, but also morally right. If that makes sense. The way they're doing all this stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go running back to the iPhone or anything, but what are you going to say? They're just doing the right thing in this way, this part of it anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so Apple will survive at least one more quarter. We can exclusively confirm that.
Yep.
And
they'll struggle on. They'll be okay eventually. Don't
I
worry
mean,
about
yeah, they'll figure this thing out. They'll eventually figure out how to make a whatever. I mean, don't worry, Paul. I bet they ship an iPhone this year. That's my prediction.
it. Yep. Yep. Well, they're going to ship some stupid glasses things for some reason.
Yeah, that will.
I don't
We'll see what
think
happens
that's going to be
there.
the next. Yeah.
We'll temper some expectations, much like
Never
the
say
tempered glass.
never say never with Apple, right? That's the other thing. They've been counted out so many times. Their overt failures are few.
Hmm.
I mean, they're notable, but they're not. I mean, God, Microsoft just throws stuff at the wall, and then Google's even worse. These companies like try things, they fail, and they go dark, and you don't see a lot of that at Apple.
Yeah, you don't chase waterfalls and you don't chase Apple.